electricity. So his title today, as you see, is The Race to Electrify the World. So I'm very happy to turn things over to my friend Peter.
Show this. Here's Einstein. He said, Einstein was asked, how was it to be the smartest man alive? And Einstein's reply was, I don't know, you'll have to ask Tesla. And so he, whoops, sorry, there we go. So he generated these big voltages at fun. He harnessed the Niagara Falls. He made it a power plant, but it was built by Westinghouse. He wasn't in the business of building it. But that year, 1895, his whole laboratory was destroyed by fire, ruining the work of half a lifetime. So he just had a hard time getting back on track there. We'll come to some Tesla stories in just a moment, because these are very interesting about this as we read it. How would you like yourself described in any of these ways? I won't talk about the ladies here, the women here, but the men, for example. You know, his head is shaped like a wedge, his chin is pointed as an ice pick, his mouth is too small, his chin is not strong enough, he lives his life up in the top of his head, and up there he has plenty of room. He has a supply of self-love and self-confidence in success. That's what Edison thought about Tesla. Okay, and whoops, sorry, here we go. And here's what Tesla thought about Thomas Edison. He had no hobby, cared for no sort of amusement of any kind, and lived in utter disregard of the most elementary rules of hygiene. His method was inefficient. He had a veritable contempt for book learning and mathematics, trusting himself entirely to his inventor's instinct and practical American sense. So you can see they were not friends. That is quite clear, isn't it? So Edison, he wanted to discredit the new alternating voltage that was running around with Westinghouse particularly. And so he had a macabre form of a series of animal electrocutions using AC. The process he referred to as getting Westinghouse. He zapped stray cats and dogs, easily obtained, and also a few cattle and horses. And at one time he attempted to execute a badly behaving zoo elephant. And this guy is crazy. Okay, they're all a bit crazy in some way. You know, when you go through reading about all these people, you kind of think to yourself, you know, I don't know if I want to meet these people. You know, who's the person I'd like to have dinner with, or something. The answer for me is Michael Faraday at this point, right, for sure. And so let's go. So in fact, even much later, here is the San Francisco World Exposition in 1915, and they advertised a special World Heavyweight Championship fight in 1915 between the battery man Tesla and the inventor Edison. It's already biased by the way it's advertised, obviously. And if you think about that, if it was $20, which is what it is, and now you see the $20 in the bottom left-hand corner there, then that's equivalent to $450 in 2013. You know, so if you think about it, that's a hell of a lot of money to go and watch somebody argue, right? There they are. They're still at it. At this point, Tesla was 59 and Edison was 74, and they're still at it, or at each other, I should say more correctly. Whoops, sorry. There we go. But Tesla and Westinghouse had a really good relationship, what this book is called a perfect partnership. And we'll come now to Tesla's strange inventions. Let me see what the time is. Yes, I'm doing okay. I don't know. My target is 45 minutes, and we're now at 39 or something. And so he had strange inventions. He had what they call a particle gun, which is a transmission of free energy across the Atlantic Ocean. And I will come to a couple of these in a minute. And just to fill out the page here, so to speak, there's a newspaper version of another idea of his, which is a theoretical invention, the thought camera, which would photograph thoughts. It was about 1933. And that, of course, never occurred and so on, but that's the way he thought he could do it. So, now let's take it. right now I'm going to go through just 3 wild stories of Tesla. You can't avoid they're all over the place. These aren't the only wild stories, but there are some of them. So in 1932, he converted a Pierce Arrow automobile, that is the Pierce Arrow automobile on there, 1931 model actually. I found the model on the internet, which is amazing, from combustion to electric. And then that's not enough because, oops, there we go, with the car prepped to run electrically, Tesla visited a nearby hardware store with items off the shelf, built a unit in his hotel room, captured power from the ether, and converted it to electricity, running the car for 400 miles. Now, who's going to believe that, eh? Not too many people. It's just nuts. And here's a second story. The death ray. Wrote a treatise, The Art of Projecting Concentrated Non-Dispersive Energy, that means focused energy, through the natural media, concerning a charged particle beam weapons. And here's his drawing of one, okay? And this is what it did. The nozzle would send concentrated beams of particles through the free air of such tremendous energy that it will bring down a fleet of 10,000 airplanes at a distance of 200 miles and will cause armies to drop dead in their tracks. Now the problem is that in all of doing these things, he raised an incredible amount of money for various purposes. I don't know why anybody gave him any money, but they did. He convinced people that he was brilliant, which he was, but also crazy. And so story number 3 is the Tesla flying machine. The Tesla flying machine was called the Teleautomaton, no propeller, no jet, not saucer shaped, more like a torpedo. So to a Westinghouse manager, he wrote this: "You should not be at all surprised if someday you see me fly from New York to Colorado Springs," I don't know why it's Colorado Springs, "in a contrivance that will resemble a gas stove and weigh as much, and could, if necessary, enter and depart through a window." How does anybody believe this guy? You know, if you saw this in the newspapers at the moment, you'd say, this is fiction of a high order, you know? So that's his flying machine, and that's what it looks like. He made a drawing of his flying machine. Now, obviously, it's not going to go anywhere in all probability, almost certainty. And now there's another number 4. He claimed, I won't read the whole of it, that every building has a natural frequency of vibration. That if you built a little machine that added a little more energy every time you turned the machine on when the vibration was going in one direction, you kept it in frequency with it. Let's say it vibrated it every 2 seconds. Well, every 2 seconds you give it a push. You give it a push, you give it a push, until eventually the thing would break and shake apart. But of course, the last paragraph, that I realized the potential terrors of such a device. Tesla said he took a hammer to the oscillator to disable it and instructed it. In fact, he had already built this strange structure. You can see how big it is. Look at the bottom of the picture. You can see the size of a house at the bottom of the picture there. Is that clear? And so the whole thing is a number of hundreds of feet high. And he got money for this. He didn't actually finish it, but he put a lot of money into it. And in 1904, and he hoped to demonstrate the wireless transmission of free electrical energy across the Atlantic. Now, who would give money for that, eh? Nobody in this room, for sure. Okay. And just at the end of his life here, he was good friends with Mark Twain in his middle years. He was obsessive compulsive. Many of his behaviors could also be seen in an autistic life. As he aged, he became even more bizarre, ultimately earning the derision of the scientific community and dying alone in a hotel room, penniless, nearly penniless. You kind of are sorry for this guy, is the truth. You know, I mean, the brilliant guy just went nuts. And I don't know. I feel really sorry for him. You can see in the picture there, that is not a happy